Imagine this: a vast, sprawling galactic council, an ancient, bureaucratic machine governing thousands of civilizations, has just issued an ultimatum to humanity. Surrender our independence, disarm our fleets, and submit to their authority, or face extermination. To them, we are an anomaly, an unpredictable, defiant species that has advanced too quickly, refused to bow, and worst of all, stood victorious in battles where we should have been crushed. The Council, a coalition of the oldest and most powerful alien civilizations, sees itself as the rightful ruler of the stars. For millennia, it has dictated the fate of entire species, deciding which are worthy of expansion and which must be contained. Empires have risen and fallen under their watch, always within the strict limits they impose. Their edict is law, and to them, humanity has already broken it. We weren't supposed to colonize other worlds so quickly. We weren't supposed to develop warships capable of tearing through fleets that had dominated space for eons. And we certainly weren't supposed to reject their guidance, but we did. And now, they've given us a choice: kneel or burn. Every great journey starts with a few brave explorers. Right now, HFY Chronicles-849 is just beginning, and your support means everything. If you enjoy unraveling the mysteries of the universe, hit subscribe. It's free, and it helps us grow this community together. At first, there was debate among our leaders. Some argued that resistance was impossible. After all, the Council controls fleets numbering in the billions, planetary defenses that have withstood invasions for centuries, and technologies that, in some cases, are thousands of years ahead of ours. But others saw the truth. The Council was powerful, yes, but it was also bloated, slow, and arrogant. It had never faced a true threat, never had to fight a war where the enemy was as relentless as humanity. They underestimated us once before, and we made them pay for it. So we made our choice. We would not kneel. We would not disarm. And if they came for us, we would make them regret it. In secret, human fleets were mobilized. Earth's greatest minds worked tirelessly to advance our weapons, our defenses, and our strategies. And somewhere, deep in the cold void of space, a plan was set in motion, one that would change the fate of the galaxy forever. The Galactic Council had made a fatal miscalculation. They believed humanity was like every other young species they had subjugated before: proud, ambitious, but ultimately too weak to resist. They thought our survival instinct would override our defiance, that we would surrender, grovel, and submit, like so many others before us. But humanity had never been a species that bent the knee to tyrants. We were forged in the fires of conflict, our history written in the blood of those who dared to conquer us. Empires had risen and fallen on Earth, and each time, humanity had learned, adapted, and come back stronger. When the Council issued its ultimatum, they unknowingly awakened something ancient within us, a drive for survival so fierce, so absolute, that it would shake the very foundations of the galaxy. The first response to the ultimatum came from the United Earth Defense Council, a message transmitted across the galactic relay stations in defiance of the Council's decree. It was short, simple, and clear. Humanity does not kneel. We do not surrender. If you seek war, we will give it to you. The reaction from the galactic community was immediate. Some civilizations, particularly the younger ones who had suffered under the Council's iron grip, saw humanity's defiance as a beacon of hope. Secretly, they cheered, whispering among themselves that perhaps, just perhaps, the Council had finally met a force it could not control. Others, particularly the older, more obedient civilizations, recoiled in horror. To them, humanity was insane, throwing itself against an unstoppable force with reckless abandon. Some sent envoys, pleading with Earth's leaders to reconsider. Surrender, they argued, was the only way to survive. But we were already past the point of no return. The first strikes did not come from humanity. They came from the Council. A fleet of massive warships, dreadnoughts the size of small moons, bristling with weaponry powerful enough to shatter entire continents, was dispatched to enforce the ultimatum. Their mission was simple: disable Earth's defenses, seize control of our colonies, and ensure our compliance through force. But by the time they arrived in Seoul, Earth was ready. In the years since our first encounters with alien life, humanity had adapted at a pace the Council could not comprehend. We had reverse-engineered captured alien technology, integrated it with our own innovations, and designed weapons specifically to counter the tactics of our would-be oppressors. The first battle of the war took place in the void between Mars and Jupiter, where a human battle group, small compared to the Council's fleet, but fast, maneuverable, and armed with weapons the Council had never seen before, stood in defiance. Fuyam. Council's admirals had laughed when they saw the human fleet on their sensors. Their ships were bigger, stronger, and outnumbered us 10-1. Victory, they believed, was inevitable. And then, humanity fired the first shot. Instead of the slow, predictable salvos they were accustomed to, the Council's fleet was met with a coordinated onslaught of kinetic railguns, high-yield plasma torpedoes, and advanced electronic warfare systems that blinded their targeting sensors. Human ships danced between them, striking with pinpoint precision, exploiting weaknesses the Council had long since forgotten even existed. And then came the surprise, a weapon they had never seen before. Project Olympus. A new class of warship, built in absolute secrecy, utilizing technologies the Council didn't even know we possessed, shielded against energy-based weaponry, equipped with railguns capable of firing projectiles at near-light speed, and powered by an AI combat system that could calculate battle strategies in microseconds. The first of these ships, the UNS Ares, made its debut in the Battle of the Jupiter Expanse. Alone, it tore through 3 of the Council's dreadnoughts before the enemy even realized what was happening. The Council's commanders, for the first time in centuries, felt something they had forgotten: fear. The first battle was not just a victory for humanity, it was a statement. We would not go quietly. And this war was only beginning. The Battle of the Jupiter Expanse was supposed to be a mere formality, a show of force to remind humanity of its place in the galactic hierarchy. But what the Council had intended as a swift and crushing victory had turned into an unthinkable disaster. Their mighty fleet, once thought invincible, was forced into full retreat, leaving behind the burning wreckage of their warships, shattered hulls drifting lifelessly through the void. For the first time in recorded history, a young species had not only defied the Council, but had defeated it in direct combat. The galactic community was stunned. Across the stars, civilizations both great and small took notice. Some watched in horror, certain that humanity had signed its own death warrant. The Council had never suffered such humiliation before, and there was no doubt they would return, this time with overwhelming force. Others, however, saw something different. They saw a species that had achieved the impossible, a species that refused to be shackled. Quiet murmurs of rebellion began to spread in the darker corners of the galaxy. But humanity had no illusions. We knew the Council would not accept defeat. They would come back, stronger and angrier than before. And when they did, they wouldn't be sending a fleet. They would be sending an armada. Earth's response was immediate. The United Earth Defense Council convened in a secure facility deep beneath the surface of Mars. Leaders, strategists, and military minds from every nation gathered, their faces grim but determined. There was no debate, no arguments, only a single, unshakable truth. The war for humanity's survival had begun. Our first priority was to prepare for the inevitable retaliation. Every shipyard across the colonies shifted to wartime production. New warships, armed with the latest advancements, were constructed at an unprecedented rate. Research facilities worked around the clock, refining energy shields, particle weaponry, and cyber warfare systems that would give humanity an edge in the coming conflict. But we knew that defense alone would not be enough. If we simply waited, the Council would eventually overwhelm us. Our only chance was to take the fight to them, on our terms. And so, Operation Phoenix was born. The plan was audacious, bordering on suicidal. Instead of waiting for the Council's retaliation, humanity would strike first, deep behind enemy lines, targeting the heart of their war machine. The goal was simple: disrupt their supply lines, sabotage their shipyards, and cripple their ability to wage war before they could fully mobilize. Specialized strike teams were formed, consisting of the best soldiers, engineers, and infiltrators humanity had to offer. They would be tasked with infiltrating key council-controlled worlds, planting explosive devices in orbital dry docks, hacking critical command networks, and spreading misinformation to sow chaos within the enemy ranks. But this was more than just sabotage. We had learned from history, our own history. Great empires do not fall from external threats alone. They crumble from within. And the Council? It was old, bloated, and corrupt. Its power rested on a fragile foundation of fear and obedience. If we could weaken that foundation, if we could ignite rebellion among the species that resented their rule, then perhaps we could turn this war into something much bigger than just humanity's fight for survival. And so, humanity did what it does best. We adapted, we strategized, and we prepared for war in ways the Council could never have anticipated. On the fringes of the galaxy, hidden bases sprang to life, churning out experimental warships unlike anything the Council had ever faced. Sleeper agents, trained in alien languages and customs, embedded themselves deep within Council-controlled worlds, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Encrypted messages were sent to oppressed species, offering them the one thing they had never had before: hope. The final piece of the plan was the most ambitious of all. A direct strike on the Council's central command relay, a massive space station known as Epsilon Prime, located in a heavily fortified sector of space. This station was the backbone of the Council's galactic communication network, the nerve center from which orders were issued to fleets spread across the stars. If we could destroy it, the Council's ability to coordinate its forces would be crippled, buying us valuable time to push forward with our offensive. But time was running out. Reports from our spies indicated that the Council had already begun amassing a second invasion force, one that would dwarf the fleet we had destroyed at Jupiter. This time, they would not underestimate us. They would come with overwhelming numbers, wielding weapons of mass destruction that could turn entire planets to dust. Humanity had made its choice. There was no turning back now. The war for our survival was about to reach its most dangerous phase, and the fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. The cold void of space has never been silent. It is filled with whispers, transmissions, signals, and the encrypted murmurs of civilizations that span the stars. But now, a new sound echoed across the galaxy, a sound that had never been heard before, the sound of humanity's war drums. As the Council scrambled to recover from its humiliating defeat, the United Earth Defense Council finalized its battle plans. No longer was this a war of survival. It was a war of reckoning, a war to shatter the chains that bound not only humanity, but every species that had suffered under the Council's rule. The first wave of Operation Phoenix was set into motion. Strike. Teams, operating under complete silence, infiltrated deep into enemy territory. These were not mere soldiers. They were ghosts, shadows moving through the corridors of power, planting seeds of chaos within the very heart of the enemy. On the industrial world of Gorath 7, a key supplier of warships to the Council, entire shipyards erupted in flames overnight. An unexplained malfunction in a Council communication relay caused a system-wide blackout, cutting off half a sector from their high command. Rumors spread like wildfire among the oppressed species, whispering that the Council was not as invincible as it seemed. But these were only the first tremors. The real earthquake was yet to come. In the dark depths of space, humanity's war machine roared to life. A new fleet, one unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen, began to take shape. It was no longer built to defend. It was built to conquer. The Erebus-class dreadnoughts, armed with experimental plasma railguns, could crack the hull of a Council battleship in a single shot. Nyx-pattern stealth destroyers, equipped with adaptive cloaking technology, could slip through enemy lines unnoticed, striking before the enemy even knew they were there. And the Hellfire-class orbital bombardment carriers. These were monsters, massive, floating fortresses capable of reducing planetary defenses to molten slag within hours. But the deadliest weapon humanity had developed wasn't a ship, a weapon, or even an army. It was an idea. The idea that the Council could bleed, that it could be challenged, that it could be overthrown. Human diplomats, once dismissed as primitive by the galactic elite, now found themselves courted in hushed meetings. Representatives from species who had long suffered under the Council's iron grip reached out in secret. Some asked for weapons, others asked for guidance, but more than anything, they asked for leadership. The cracks in the Council's rule were deepening, and humanity was ready to break them wide open. Then came the moment that changed everything. A Council battle group, one of the largest ever assembled, was intercepted near the Kelsor Expanse, an unclaimed region of space just outside Council jurisdiction. Their mission? To establish a forward operating base for the next invasion of Sol. They never made it. As the fleet emerged from hyperspace, they found themselves face to face with the full might of humanity's second armada. The battle was unlike anything the galaxy had witnessed before. The Council, expecting an easy victory, was instead met with a storm of plasma, railgun fire, and cyber warfare attacks that left entire ships dead in the void before they could even return fire. The stealth destroyers flanked from the shadows, tearing through Council cruisers like wolves among sheep. Dreadnoughts unleashed their fury, their railguns firing hypersonic projectiles that shattered enemy shields in a single shot. But it wasn't just firepower that won the battle. It was tactics. Human commanders didn't fight like the Council's rigid hierarchical admirals. They adapted, they improvised, they used deception, psychological warfare, and unpredictable strategies that left the Council scrambling to respond. Decoy fleets, false distress signals, and AI-driven electronic warfare turned the battle into a slaughter. By the time the Council realized the extent of their defeat, it was too late. Their flagship, the Celestial Authority, was boarded in a brutal close-quarters assault. Its command crew, those who had once signed the ultimatum demanding humanity's surrender, were dragged from their thrones of power and forced to kneel before the very species they had sought to exterminate. For the first time in history, the Council had lost a battle in open warfare, and the galaxy took notice. Reports spread faster than light. Across Council-controlled worlds, whispers became roars. The iron grip of the ruling elite had been loosened, and as humanity's fleets pushed deeper into enemy territory, the message was clear. The old order was dying, and a new era was beginning. But the Council was far from broken. Back on their homeworld, Archelaus Prime, the heart of their dominion, plans were already in motion for a final stand. Their most powerful fleets, their deadliest weapons, and their most ruthless warlords were preparing for what they knew would be the greatest war in galactic history. They were not going to let humanity win. And so, as our fleets pushed forward, as planets were liberated and allies rose from the shadows, humanity knew that the final battle was still ahead. The true test had yet to come. And when it did, we would be ready. In the cold depths of space, where light itself seemed to surrender to the abyss, the fate of the galaxy teetered on the edge of war. Humanity had struck a decisive blow against the Galactic Council, shattering their aura of invincibility. But the true battle was still ahead, the war to end the Council's rule forever. The Council, humiliated but not yet defeated, was preparing for its ultimate retaliation. From the farthest reaches of their empire, they called upon their strongest fleets, their deadliest weapons, and their most terrifying warlords. The High Ruler of the Council, Archon Belzora, addressed the remaining members of the ruling elite in a rare public broadcast. His voice was cold, mechanical, distorted by the weight of centuries. The humans have mistaken a single victory for dominance. They have sown chaos, but they will reap only oblivion. Their defiance ends now. With those words, the Council declared a total war doctrine. Every world under their dominion was ordered to contribute to the war effort. Factories churned out warships at an unprecedented rate. Armies were conscripted, entire populations drafted into service. The Council's scientists were given one directive: develop a weapon so devastating that humanity would never recover from its impact. But what the Council failed to realize was that the very foundation of their empire was already crumbling. Their authoritarian rule had held the galaxy in submission for millennia. But now, for the first time, the oppressed races had hope. They had seen humanity stand against the tyrants. They had seen their warships burn, their admirals kneel, and their fleets retreat. The illusion of the Council's absolute power had been shattered, and once broken, it could never be restored. Humanity knew this was its greatest weapon. While Earth's fleets pushed deeper into Council territory, the United Earth Defense Council initiated Operation Liberation, a galaxy-wide campaign to ignite rebellion on every Council-controlled world. It began in the industrial megacities of Tau Draconis, a planet known for its brutal enslavement of non-Council species. Under the cover of darkness, human operatives infiltrated the slave compounds, supplying the prisoners with weapons, communication systems, and one simple message: your chains are not unbreakable. Rise. And they did. Within days, the streets of Tau Draconis were engulfed in flames. The local council garrison, overwhelmed by the sheer numbers of the uprising, fell within 72 hours. Similar coordinated rebellions erupted on nearly 100 council worlds, from the frozen wastelands of Varkilos to the high-gravity fortresses of Johora Prime. These were not just spontaneous uprisings, they were calculated revolutions, orchestrated with military precision, backed by human intelligence and weaponry. The Council was losing control. For the first time in its history, its grip on the galaxy weakened. Entire fleets were recalled from the front lines to suppress the rebellions, but the more the Council fought to contain the chaos, the more it spread. The once mighty empire was being torn apart from within, but humanity knew better than to rely on rebellion alone. Even as revolts raged across Council space, Earth's military command was preparing for the war's most crucial battle, the siege of Archelaos Prime, the very heart of the Galactic Council's power. It was a fortress world, shielded by planetary defense grids, orbital battle stations, and the largest concentration of warships in galactic history. A direct assault would be suicide, unless humanity changed the rules of engagement. And so, we did. Rather than launching a traditional invasion, human forces engaged in psychological warfare on a scale never before seen. Cyber warfare units infiltrated the Council's central intelligence networks, flooding their encrypted channels with false reports, fabricated battle data, and the illusion of betrayal. Council commanders received conflicting orders. Elite warships were rerouted to non-existent battlefronts. Entire squadrons were tricked into opening fire on their own fleets. And then came the final stroke of genius. Earth's most advanced AI warfare system, Odin, hijacked the Council's planetary defense grid, turning their own automated turrets, orbital cannons, and defense satellites against them. In a single moment, Archelaos Prime, the impenetrable capital of the Council, was exposed. That was when the second human armada arrived. Dreadnoughts and carriers emerged from hyperspace, their engines glowing like vengeful stars. The Hellfire-class bombardment ships unleashed their fury, hammering the Council's last strongholds with hypersonic kinetic strikes. Planetary defense stations were disabled before they could even fire a single shot. The once mighty Council fleets, outgunned and disoriented, broke ranks under the relentless assault. And then, the ground invasion began. Human shock troopers, outfitted with next-generation exosuits, landed in the capital city, engaging in brutal, close-quarters combat with the Council's last remaining defenders. For the first time in recorded history, the ruling elites of the Galactic Council found themselves hunted in their own palaces. The battle was swift. The outcome was unavoidable. The Council's empire was collapsing. Their fleets were shattered. Their leaders were on the run. But the final victory had not yet been won. Deep beneath the capital, in a hidden vault guarded by the last remnants of the Council's elite forces, one final weapon was being prepared. A weapon that, if activated, could turn the tide of war in an instant. Something ancient. Something forbidden. Something that could erase entire worlds from existence. Humanity was on the brink of victory. But the Council was about to unleash one last nightmare upon the galaxy. The final battle was about to begin. The darkest hour is always the one before the dawn, they say. And as humanity stood on the precipice of complete victory over the Galactic Council, it seemed that the galaxy's greatest threat was far from over. With Archelaos Prime nearly in human hands, the Council's final gambit was about to unfold. Hidden beneath the gleaming surface of their capital planet, deep within the vaults of the Council's ancient citadel, lay a weapon unlike any humanity had ever encountered. Its existence was a well-kept secret, even to the highest-ranking members of the Council until the very end. A weapon so powerful, it had been conceived not just to conquer, but to obliterate entire civilizations. It was called the Black Obelisk. The Black Obelisk had been crafted long before humanity's rise, during the early days of the Council's formation. It was not a weapon born of science or technology, but of arcane knowledge, forgotten and forbidden. The obelisk harnessed the energy of the cosmic void itself, the dark matter that permeates the space between stars. It was said to have the power to tear open the fabric of the universe, creating a catastrophic rift that would erase entire star systems, planets, and life forms with a single pulse. When the Council's leaders discovered the obelisk, they recognized the potential to use it as a final deterrent. But it was so dangerous, so unpredictable, that it had been hidden away, locked in the deepest, most secure vault on Archelaos Prime and guarded by the Council's most elite forces. But with their empire now collapsing, the High Ruler, Archon Belzora, made the ultimate decision. He would deploy the obelisk. Humanity's victory was to be erased, and all the suffering the Council had inflicted upon the galaxy would be avenged by a single, cataclysmic stroke. As Earth's forces advanced deeper into the capital, reports began to trickle in, whispers, of a strange energy surge emanating from a hidden facility. The second human fleet was already positioned over Archelaos Prime, preparing for the final assault. But all seemed to be happening too quickly, and when a deep space reconnaissance drone intercepted a transmission from the Council's high command, it confirmed humanity's worst fears. The obelisk was being activated. Time was running out. For the first time in the entire war, humanity's military found itself faced with an enemy weapon that could annihilate everything. The calculated strategies, the deception, and the overwhelming power of Earth's fleets suddenly seemed like mere child's play compared to the reality of this weapon. The Black Obelisk, a thing of terrifying ancient design, was more than a weapon. It was a force of nature that defied all known laws of physics and space-time. To engage it directly would be to challenge the universe itself. Humanity had no choice. They had to stop it, or risk losing everything in a heartbeat. The United Earth Defense Council's command center, located in the orbiting battle station, known as Prometheus, immediately convened for an emergency operation. The goal was clear: infiltrate the facility housing the Black Obelisk, destroy it, and eliminate the Council's ability to wield such devastating power. But the facility was buried beneath thousands of meters of solid rock, surrounded by a defensive grid that could vaporize any ship within range. The operation was assigned to the Crimson Vanguard, humanity's most elite special forces unit, an unconventional task force built specifically for missions like this. These soldiers were equipped with the latest exo-armor suits, powered by advanced nanotechnology, and armed with weapons designed to face any conceivable threat. But against the sheer magnitude of the obelisk's power, even their formidable skills seemed insufficient. The Crimson Vanguard was tasked with storming the heart of Archelaos Prime, bypassing the last remnants of the Council's elite guard, and reaching the obelisk itself. This would be no easy feat. Time was of the essence, and every minute brought them closer to a universe-shattering catastrophe. As the Vanguard dropped onto the planet's surface, the ground shook with the force of distant explosions. Their drop pods impacted the Earth with pinpoint precision, piercing the city's infrastructure like an unstoppable force. But they were not alone. The final defenders of the Council, augmented soldiers with bio-enhanced strength and battle minds driven by ancient genetic modifications, converged on their position. The Crimson Vanguard fought tooth and nail, their advanced exosuits giving them an edge in hand-to-hand combat against the genetically enhanced Council soldiers. It was a brutal, bloody affair. Each step forward paid for with the lives of the defenders, and the cost of humanity's victory seemed to grow higher with every passing minute. But the Vanguard pressed on, through the streets of Archelaos Prime's capital, through miles of subterranean tunnels, and into the core of the Council's last stronghold. The Vanguard soldiers fought like a relentless tide. They were moving with purpose now, their mission clear: destroy the Black Obelisk and prevent the Council from erasing all of their hard-won progress. And then, they reached it. The Black Obelisk, its surface shimmering with an eerie, unnatural glow, stood at the center of an underground chamber that felt more like a temple than a military facility. It hummed with energy, a constant vibration that shook the very air around it. The walls were covered in alien symbols, the meaning of which was lost to time. But in the heart of the chamber, humanity's soldiers faced the weapon that had the power to undo everything. As the vanguard moved to disable the device, they encountered their final obstacle. The Council's final guardians, a cadre of ancient beings, genetically altered and infused with the energy of the obelisk itself. These entities were nearly immortal, their strength beyond human comprehension, and their determination to protect the obelisk was absolute. The battle that ensued was a clash of will, strength, and desperation. The vanguard, though outmatched in raw power, relied on their ingenuity and unbreakable spirit to fight back. Their tactical minds worked quickly, adapting to the unpredictable movements of their foes, while their weapons tore through the Guardians' defenses. It was a fight that pushed them to their limits. And then, just as the obelisk reached the critical threshold, the vanguard's leader, Commander Alex Reed, made the final, impossible decision. With a detonator in hand, he pressed the button that sent a pulse of electromagnetic energy directly into the core of the obelisk. The reaction was instantaneous. The entire chamber imploded, sending shockwaves through Archelaus Prime. The obelisk's energy exploded outward in a massive burst of light that seared the sky above. For a moment, the universe itself seemed to tremble. But then, silence. The obelisk had been destroyed. The Council's last hope, its ultimate weapon, was gone. But the cost had been high. Commander Reed and most of the vanguard had perished in the explosion. The remaining soldiers barely escaped with their lives. Yet, in their sacrifice, they had ensured that humanity's victory would not be erased. The final blow had been struck, and, as the dust settled, the galaxy found itself forever changed. The battle for Archelaus Prime had shattered the remnants of the Galactic Council, leaving nothing but a path of ashes in its wake. Humanity, through sheer willpower, had turned the tide of the war, and with the destruction of the Black Obelisk, the last trump card of the Council had been removed from play. But though the victory was monumental, the war was far from over. The power vacuum left in the wake of the Council's collapse would give rise to new threats, and humanity, for the first time in centuries, stood at the center of a galactic stage that had never truly known them. But let's take a step back. Imagine for a moment the magnitude of what had just been accomplished. For millennia, the Galactic Council had ruled over hundreds of species, bending the galaxy to their will. They had crushed civilizations, controlled the flow of resources, and established a hierarchical empire where power was everything. And yet, in the face of humanity's defiance, their entire edifice came crumbling down. What made it possible? What gave humanity the strength to stand against an enemy that was not just technologically superior, but whose power was interwoven with the very fabric of the galaxy itself? The answer lies not in weapons or fleets, but in the one thing the Galactic Council had never truly understood about humanity: the spirit of perseverance. It wasn't just that humanity had advanced technologically. It wasn't merely their ships or their weapons that turned the tide. No, it was something far more potent: the human spirit, the unyielding drive to fight, to survive, and to push forward no matter how impossible the odds seemed. From the first, explorers who journeyed into the stars, to the first colonists who established humanity's presence beyond Earth, humans had never shied away from a challenge. Their ability to adapt, to innovate, and to fight for a better future was something the Council had long underestimated. Even in the face of overwhelming odds, humanity had shown the unthinkable, that even against the darkest forces, the will to survive would always find a way to outlast the storm. And it was this spirit, this core of humanity, that had been the key to the galaxy's salvation. As news spread across the galaxy of humanity's victory over the Council, reactions were varied. Some species, once enslaved or oppressed under the Council's rule, saw it as a chance for freedom, a chance to finally live without fear of the Council's iron grip. Others, still loyal to the old order, were shocked, confused, and terrified of what would come next. For the first time, the galaxy was left to fend for itself, and with that uncertainty came fear. Humanity, however, was not unprepared. They had faced the Council's threats head-on, and though their victory was bitter, it had also shown their enemies the true nature of the human resolve. As the dust settled, Earth's newly formed Galactic Council began to take shape. A council not to rule but to unite the diverse species across the stars, an assembly of species that could no longer be kept apart by fear or control. Humanity's leadership, forged in the fires of war, began laying down the foundation for a new era, one where the mistakes of the past would not be repeated, where mutual respect and cooperation would replace the old hierarchies. The Human Galactic Federation, as it came to be called, would become the beacon of hope for the galaxy, a symbol of unity, progress, and the promise of a brighter future. But there was something more, a realization that would change everything. The destruction of the Black Obelisk had revealed something that had long been hidden: the existence of ancient cosmic forces, powers that transcended even the highest levels of galactic technology. The Black Obelisk was not just a weapon, it was part of a larger cosmic puzzle. Deep in the ruins of the Council's secret archives, humanity's brightest minds began to uncover strange symbols, ancient maps, and encrypted data that hinted at something far greater, something that connected not just the galaxy, but the entire universe. Humanity had stumbled upon a secret so profound that it threatened to reshape everything they knew about existence itself. The Council had hidden it away for fear that it might one day fall into the wrong hands. But now, it was in humanity's grasp. It was not just about ruling the stars, it was about understanding the true nature of the cosmos. This new knowledge opened doors that were once thought to be impossible. Technology that could travel between galaxies, manipulate gravity, even alter the fabric of space-time itself. This was the next phase of human evolution. With the Council gone, there was nothing holding humanity back from exploring the deepest reaches of the universe. The secrets of ancient civilizations, long lost to time, would be within their reach. And yet, with this newfound power came a heavy responsibility. The future was now in humanity's hands. Could they rise to meet it? Could they avoid the mistakes of their predecessors and build a future that honored the sacrifices made to get here? The stakes had never been higher. As humanity began to spread its influence across the stars, they realized that their true test was just beginning. For in the vastness of the universe, there were still forces at play. Ancient forces that had watched humanity's rise with both curiosity and concern. Some were allies, eager to see the human spirit thrive. Others were adversaries, watching carefully, waiting for the right moment to strike. What will humanity do? Will they become the leaders the galaxy needs? Or will the cosmic powers that govern the universe find a way to bring them to their knees? The future remains unwritten. But one thing is certain: humanity's place in the galaxy has changed forever. The war is over. But the journey has only just begun. If you've been captivated by the incredible journey of humanity's rise and fall, and rise again, you're not alone. This is just the beginning of what we can explore together. Join the community at HFY Chronicles-849 and let's dive deeper into the mysteries of the universe. Don't forget to like, share, and comment. Your support means the world to us. And remember, in the vastness of space, it's not about the size of the ship, but the strength of the will that drives it forward. Until next time, keep reaching for the stars.